Hello, everyone. Francesca from ShipBob here, and I'm here with Drew, partner manager over at FlavorCloud, about a topic that I think is super pertinent right now as brands are trying to expand their customer base. What better way than to go international and gain some international clients? So, for people that don't know what FlavorCloud is, they're actually our partner that helps power our DDP shipment solutions, so our merchants can actually offer duties delivered paid shipments to their international client or customers. And most customers that select this option have a better customer experience. So excited to hear about over Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and going to the holidays. Like, what were the trends on with international shoppers tuning into sales that were in the U.S. And I'm just going to hand over to Drew now. That's going to talk about e-commerce cross border.
Awesome. Thanks, Francesca. Appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Appreciate the intro. Again, my name is Drew Adair, Partnership Manager here at FlavorCloud. I'm just going to get my screen set up here to share with you. We got lots to go through, lots to talk through. As our attendees continue to come in, feel free to post in the chat. Tell me where you're coming from with this topic and session. Hopefully we have some folks all around the globe and we can have some information pertinent to each of you. So really excited to get going here. And let's just kick it off. So to start, again, we are FlavorCloud, and Francesca did a great job kind of covering what we do. But just as a quick recap, I'll cover kind of who we are and why you should be taking anything we say for to heart. So FlavorCloud, we are the leading cross-border shipping solution around the world for direct-to-consumer merchants, and have over 500 merchants shipping to over 200 countries. And our time with ShipBob has been great. It's been about 13 months so far working on the program, and to date, we've shipped over 50,000 packages for ShipBob merchants, and actually over 100 ShipBob merchants. So continuing to grow the program, really excited about everything. And our goal is to be that one-stop shop for all your international shipping needs. And that includes talking about looking at the holiday trends and where things are going and how you can get on top of that. So what we're going to cover today, really want you to be able to take away 5 key topics here. First is to get the idea that Cyber Week is global, and it's not just specific to the United States. There's opportunities all over the world to capitalize on this and capitalize on demand. Second, is that even though it is a global trend, holiday preferences for shoppers around the world vary differently from what you see here in the United States. And so we're going to talk about what some of those differences look like. Next is, when you are trying to tap into this international demand, what are some of the key considerations you should take when planning out your shipping strategy? And then finally, how can you go about taking advantage of the demand that's all over the world? And then finally, we'll wrap up with a couple of examples of ShipBob merchants that have taken advantage of this program and seen it really help them succeed over the past year. So we'll jump right in. First thing, Cyber Week is a global trend. It is not something that's exclusive to the United States. Last year alone, we saw the number of over $275 billion in global Cyber Week sales, and we only expect that number to climb even closer to $300 billion this year. Over 130 different countries were represented around the world, and you can see on the right-hand side of your screen some of the top countries when it comes to Cyber Week related searches. And so obviously the United States is still in the number 1 spot, but followed not too far behind by other key countries that we see high international demand from U.S. shippers, including Germany, Brazil, UK, and Spain. Again, this is for searches for global Cyber Week. And next, we're going to look at some of the spikes that we see in buyer activity across different pieces of the time here. And so what you'll see on our screen here is actually this year's data on Cyber Week traffic for both Black Friday and Cyber Monday compared to where things are on an average day. The average you'll see is on Black Friday, we see about 5x in terms of buyer activity versus the norm, and about 50% increase. And that's the worldwide average. Now, it's very different across the board, and it's not evenly distributed. Surprisingly, some of the larger top international markets that we see often, like in Australia and the United Kingdom and even Mexico, actually fall below the world average when it comes to activity on these days. We'll get to why that might be in just a second, but that's key to keep in mind. All of these countries here on this list have seen significant traffic increases, but some just a lot more than others. On the flip side, of course, our closest neighbor, Canada, actually outpaces us in terms of relative activity increases for the key cyber days. But other key markets to look to tap into include India and South Africa and Germany as well. So definitely there is demand around the world for this. In addition to specifically Cyber Week itself, two other key shipping focused holidays to keep in mind on when you're building an international strategy. And number one is Singles Day. You may or may not be familiar with this, but this is a trend initiated by Alibaba about 10 years ago that has since spread to a lot of Southeast Asia. It occurs on November 11th. So keep that in mind next year as you're starting to build your strategy around international shipping. That's one that you want to be able to tap into. And then another one that you still have time to kind of plan for this year is Boxing Day. Boxing Day originated in the United Kingdom and is still observed by many of the countries formerly in the Commonwealth and still in the Commonwealth. So Boxing Day, even after all the peak rush of Christmas has come through, we still have a lot to tap into at the end of December. So just keep all that in mind. The focus of Cyber Week and the broader holiday spectrum is still very much there all around the globe, but it does vary from country to country. Now let's talk about the buyers in these other countries a little bit. A couple things to really keep in mind here for this are the idea of an international buyer. Think about them as they're coming to a US or North American site. They're likely going to spend more because shipping costs more. And as we can see here with Shopify's Black Friday Cyber Monday trend report on the right side, international buyers actually value product quality higher than the average across the world and specifically higher than the US. And so that product quality is not only specific to the actual product that you're buying, but it's actually also encompasses things like the checkout experience, as well as the shipping and delivery experience. So when you think of product quality, and this is what Shopify tries to hit home on this year, think of it as a holistic experience of that customer experience. And so you see countries like Italy and Spain far outpacing the average and far outpacing the expectations that we have here with US shoppers. On the reverse side of that, folks in Australia and the United Kingdom are more willing to wait longer and have somewhat lower expectations. Still high expectations, but somewhat lower. So those are ones where you're going to probably want to look more on price and more economic options there for sure. I did mention the piece as far as the checkout process goes. You can also see what the different stats are here on cart abandonment with the middle graphic. And a couple of key ones on there that apply to what we're looking at is having a complicated checkout process. To really succeed at international shipping, you need to be able to offer a process that's just as seamless as a domestic buyer would experience. That's over 21% of survey respondents here said they abandoned a cart because they had a poor experience. Other key ones, and this plays into what providing and showing duties and taxes up front includes, is being able to see that cost up front. Being able to have all of that at time of checkout is super key here as well. And so as you have these carts with higher AOVs and you have these customers that have this higher expectation of product quality, it's important to be able to be providing the most comprehensive and cohesive piece that you can have possible. So let's jump into now. You've had these buyers convert. What should you be offering in terms of shipping considerations? We'll see here, PwC did their holiday survey recently, and you can see that the most key pieces that go into a decision when it comes to picking a delivery option is that ability to show proof of delivery, whether that's a picture, whether that is a delivery scan, different pieces of that nature. It's absolutely vital to have that. It's the number one resource that international buyers see. In addition to that, being able to see tracking throughout is also incredibly key for international buyers. So some of the tracking with standard domestic postal, you're not going to get that level of tracking that international buyers require. And so you don't want to just be shipping via the postal service. And then again, making sure that tracking is live and being able to show all of that. So these are the key pieces when it comes to picking your shipping option. Now the question is, there's all this demand out there. You know that there's a need for it. How do you go about doing it? There's a couple different key ways you can kind of look through it. And of course, we're biased and we're going to lean towards one side of it. But starting with the do-it-yourself. We have plenty of merchants, as they start, they're looking to support all the international shipping themselves, figuring out duties and taxes, shipping it out on their own. It's a tough process. It's fine for starting out, but as you grow and scale, you want to put your resources towards something else. The next option is using a single source carrier. While this gives you a little bit more consistency across the board, you can see that international buyers, they want options when it comes to shipping, and they want to be able to pick on their own. So that single source piece doesn't work as well all the time. Then you can graduate into an international aggregator, such as a FlavorCloud. And what they are able to do, what we're able to do, is actually pool different carriers from all around the world, get you the best rates, and mitigate against any carrier outages across the network. So really helps you provide that domestic-like shipping solution while not having to commit a bunch of resources and investment into that. And then the final and most serious piece, and where ShipBob really comes into play really well, is being able to actually move inventory in country. And ShipBob has facilities all over the world that you're able to move into and actually provide that true domestic experience. What goes really nicely with the partnership is being able to first test it out with DDP shipping and then actually move and graduate in moving inventory in country. It allows you to see what's working, what's not, without actually putting the investment of moving your inventory into another country. So those are the couple of different options. There's different pieces that work for different folks, but definitely as you look to expand and really take advantage of the international opportunities that are out there and you want to go up market, moving towards that right side of the screen here is really where you want to be. So finally, I know we're getting closer on time. Just want to talk through a couple key examples of different merchants and how they're using the program today. First would be OneSkin, is cosmetics provider, science-based cosmetics provider, shipping with ShipBob and shipping exclusively DDP up to Canada. They had really terrible experiences with their products getting stopped at the border, given its complexity, and turned to ShipBob to find them an option for getting things pre-cleared across the border. We've been able to do that for OneSkin. It's been very successful, and they've continued to grow with us as one of our first customers. The next would be Team of Towels. They're a great example of you're able to use both the economic DDU shipping, duties unpaid, but then also providing the DDP experience for those merchants that seek it out via FlavorCloud. So that's another great option. And then finally, we have Animal House Fitness, one of our flagship merchants in the program. They started off just shipping international DDP with FlavorCloud, found a couple markets that really, really worked well for them, and have since expanded into other fulfillment centers in other countries, tapping into ShipBob's global experience. So those are a couple different ways you can work through tapping into international demand. I know we are a little tight on time here with this, so I'm going to say thank you for that, and I will take all of your questions.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, post your questions in the chat if you have any about DDP shipping. Let's see if we have any. I guess the question I have, Drew, what's like a typical timeline and like what does a brand have to do to get set up to ship internationally and utilize this DDP program? Like, is there anything that if they're looking to do this and maybe do a push for international shoppers in the new year, like what should they be thinking about if they want to use this program and get set up?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question.
Day one of the
we've spent a lot of time working on the partnership to make it as seamless as possible. And we've really gotten it down to where you're able to join a 30-minute call with a ShipBob team member to get your store set up and enabled for shipping with FlavorCloud. And then we have a final 30-minute call with a FlavorCloud expert to get you actually live in shipping. So we have certain merchants that are going live in as little as an hour of actual setup time. So really seamless process. learning shipping internationally, of course, is very hard, very challenging. And so you're able to lean on the FlavorCloud expertise of our customer service team to help you mitigate any issues as they arise.
Great. That's awesome. People can jump on that right away in time for Boxing Day if they want to do it.
Exactly. And so there is time, and we'd love to have you. And ahead of that, the UK is our second largest market, only behind Canada. So absolutely the ability to step in there, and we have some really competitive pricing there.
Awesome. We do have a question. Someone asked, how does DDP help expedite receiving of goods versus DDU?
Great question, Tom. Analogy I like to use is if you ever fly, you can kind of think of DDP as the TSA pre-check of shipping, in that you've filled out things ahead of time, there's a record of it. And instead of being stopped at customs, we have the relationships with all of our custom brokers that they immediately flow through with DDP shipments. DDU might get stopped at the border. The carrier has to contact the end consumer and ask for them to remit payment for the taxes and duties, things of that nature. Instead, with FlavorCloud, we're able to take care of that all upfront at time of checkout, and then actually be the importer of record on your behalf. So you don't have to do any tax remittance or anything of that nature. But I think what you can think of, Tom, is think of TSA pre-check when you think of DDP.
Awesome. If anyone else has any questions for Drew and the FlavorCloud team, pop into their booth and post them there. They'll be monitoring it for the rest of the day. But thank you so much, Drew, for covering cross-border trends. It was really interesting to see that the US was not the most uptick in sales this Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because usually you would think only the US does the sales. So it's really insightful to see that international shoppers are now shopping these sales, and it's become a worldwide shopping week for everybody.
Absolutely. And it's great to see 3PLs like ShipBob ahead of the curve there and really taking advantage of all that's out there and being able to provide folks with that. So thank you, everyone.